So some people aren't actually familiar with the policies. Some people are at a very technical level and they never see the policies. And they don't realize how many there really are. Some people think there's just one policy that affects and addresses everything. Most organizations have several different policies that address, specific issues of how you're going to deal with sensitive data or physical security. So there's a lot of different policies usually involved. Now, the overreaching policy is the organizational policy, and that addresses the business needs, the laws, regulations. But this is the directives for management. Basically, the policy is what management says the role of security in this company. What is the role of security in this company? So there's different types of policies, but there is usually one overreaching policy itself. So in this organizational policy, what's there? Well, we have the strategic direction of what security management is all about. We identify the compliancy issues. We define the actual security program itself. You define the roles, not individuals. You don't call out individuals. You define the roles and their responsibilities. You define the actual security team. So in a way, it's a high-level roadmap, but it is very high level. A policy is not specific because it has to cover so many different departments and so many different processes and different technologies. If your policy was specific, let's say about a type of firewall, you'd have to change it once you did a refresh. So a policy is almost like a law. It has to be interpreted. So the organizational or the overall policy works as the framework for the security program. And what that means is it's the directives for management. They've laid out in the policy, it lays out all the things we went over. And this is what you go to when there's a question. After a security program is put in place, if there's ever a question of how to deal with something, or if there's somebody doesn't agree with some of the procedures or standards, you always go back to the policy to see what it says, because the whole thing is you have to be compliant with the policy. That's the whole goal of all the security stuff within an organization. And it has to be a good policy that covers all the responsibilities of security. Now, like I said, there's several different types of policies. There's individual policies that are called issue-specific policies, also called functional policies. And they are going to address specific things that the overall policy can't get into. For example, email is only supposed to be used for business use. You can't use it for personal use. There's no confidential information that can be passed through email, or internet use can only be for business use. What to do in physical emergencies. So there's individual policies that deal with individual specific items. So within every policy, you'll have a purpose of what the policy is. You'll have the scope, what this policy actually covers, and then you'll lay out the requirements. And there's a lot of great templates and policies out there that can be used instead of starting from scratch. So we have organizational policy, we have issue-specific policy, and we also have system-specific policy. Now, people usually aren't as familiar with system-specific policies. They indicate what a system or group of systems are supposed to be used for. So, for example, you could have a policy that says only top secret information can be held on these servers, or this system or maybe a server farm can only be used for e-commerce processes. So system-specific policies is what what their title is. It's specific to the system itself. And again, it's not usually this one server. It's a lot of times it's a set of technology or a set of servers. So it defines what the security objectives are and the requirements for these specific systems. So again, just like any other policy, it'll have a purpose, It'll lay out a scope, which is what are this system-specific policy, what systems is it dealing with, and then it'll lay out the actual policy requirements.